Welcome to Podsdale, brought to you by the City of Scottsdale. Join us to explore the stories that make our city a world-class community. Thanks for tuning into Podsdale. I'm Holly Peralta.
And I'm Greer Albaugh. With temperatures soaring into the triple digits, today's episode is all about keeping your pets safe during the Arizona summer.
That's right. We know how dangerous this heat can be for humans, and it can be just as, if not more, dangerous for our furry friends.
Joining us today is someone who knows this topic inside and out, Dr. Stephen Hansen, President and CEO of the Arizona Humane Society. Under his leadership, AHS has expanded its life-saving efforts across the valley and continues to be a vital resource for pet owners, especially during the hottest time of the year.
We're so excited to have him here to talk about the risks, the warning signs, and the best ways to protect your pets from heat-related emergencies. Dr. Hansen, welcome to Podsdale. We're glad to have you.
Thank you for having me.
To kick off, let's talk about yourself a little bit. Could you briefly introduce yourself and share a bit about your background with the Arizona Humane Society?
Well, I've been with the Arizona Humane Society almost 12 years now. I actually came from the ASPCA in New York City, so I'm a veterinarian, and our programs are very heavily focused on medical treatment of dogs and cats. We run the largest trauma hospital in the country. We're actually the largest privately funded shelter system in the country. We'll take in 23,000 animals this year.
Wow.
What's something people might be surprised to learn about the work the Arizona Humane Society does beyond adoptions?
One thing they may be surprised to know is that our trauma hospital, in the intake of animals that we get, I mentioned it, 23,000, 80% of those animals go through the trauma hospital. So we focus on sick and injured. We are the location for sick and injured animals in Maricopa County.
That's incredible. I didn't realize that we had the largest network here. That's amazing. And particularly in the summer, let's talk about your pets and Arizona heat. Why is Arizona summer heat especially dangerous for pets?
Well, it's particularly brutal for pets because of just the plain fact that the temperature is so high. And our pets do wear their winter coat. Now, they may shed a fair amount in the summertime, but their body temperatures can be much higher than ours, get much higher very, very quickly. And they have a limited ability to cool themselves. Most of their cooling happens by panting or their pads. They don't really sweat over their body. So it's very easy for a dog to overheat in this heat. Very easy.
What are some of the most common heat-related injuries you see come through the doors at the Humane Society, or just in general during the summer?
During the summer, we really see two types of injuries. So one of them is paws.
Okay.
Because we can get burning of paws, which is why we want to make sure that when you're taking a dog for a walk, that you put your hand on the pavement. If you can't hold your hand on the pavement, it's not good for the paws of your dog. So for me, that means I don't walk my dogs until 10 o'clock at night. It can be hot very late, and it gets hot very early in the morning. And the second is actually sunburn. We will see dogs that do get sunburned, and they can get some very, very nasty skin lesions. Usually that happens when a dog's been shaved. So they've taken a dog that has a fur coat that obviously is keeping heat in, but it's also keeping a protective layer against the skin. So you can get some very bad burns on the back of a dog if it's outside exposed for long periods.
What are your thoughts on, I've seen the little dog shoes and things that people can put on their feet. Are those helpful?
We love booties.
Booties, yes.
If the pavement is too hot and a walk is necessary, if it's still maybe reasonable, then booties work really well. What we like people to do is to put them on, give rewards, allow the dogs to wear them for short periods in time inside. For multiple times, and they will get used to it and get very good at it. It's kind of cute at first. They'll do some high stepping and try and flick them off. But if you're patient and introduce it inside over multiple episodes and give treats, they'll learn very quickly. We'll actually give out booties to people experiencing homelessness to help protect their dogs in the summer heat when they've got limited access to get to places that are more protective.
That's wonderful. And another question, with noses and other areas on the body, is there any benefit to is there some type of sunblock you can use on dogs?
So there are some sunblocks that are made. You can actually put it in their coat as well. My reaction is that if it's hot enough and you're in direct sun enough, it's probably not appropriate for the dog in the first place.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you do have to take your dog out in the heat for potty breaks, whatever it may be, Do you have any other tips for pet owners, or should they just not do it? Like, what if I have to take my dog out in the middle of the day because he has to go potty? Right. What should I do?
Right. And we've got several dogs at home, so we have to do that exact same thing. So for us, the most important thing is to make sure that they all get back in. Mm-hmm. So we've got several dogs, and we've got one that likes to go out and literally lay sideways out in the hot sun.
My dog does that
my
too.
dog loves the sun for some reason.
You know? And getting a little sunshine is okay, but don't let it go on too long because they can get themselves into trouble very quickly. So just going outside with them in this heat, I don't generally let them out without me being out there. Mm-hmm. And I also don't like to do that for coyotes as well and get into the habit of letting them outside. So be out there with them, keep an eye on them, and make sure they get back inside. They can get overcome with heat exhaustion remarkably fast.
And when you talk about dogs and heat exhaustion, are there certain breeds or certain characteristics on dogs that make them more like susceptible? I imagine like maybe a flat nose.
Yep, absolutely. We call those brachycephalic dogs. So they've got short noses and nasal turbinates that are very tight, and they don't move air very well at all. So absolutely, those dogs are at substantial risk, as are dogs with heavy coats. Yeah. If I have a smash-nosed dog, I would be super cautious outside.
That's good to know. Talking about dogs and cats, let's think about cars. Sometimes you see people leave pets in cars, and can you explain why leaving a pet in a parked car is so dangerous, even for a short amount of time?
Yeah, leaving both kids and pets in cars for any length of time is really ill-advised. It's actually not even legal in Arizona. And the reason is that the inside of a car, as you can imagine, when we get into our cars and leave today, our steering wheels, we may not even be able to hold our hands on the top of the steering wheel. So you realize how hot it gets inside the car very quickly. It'll get over 150 degrees inside very rapidly, and dogs will succumb and die. There was actually a dog that died last week in Texas in a car with air conditioning on.
Oh, no.
Now, it was a large dog with a very heavy coat, so it was not maybe your average dog locked in a car. But the owners thought that the dog was okay because they left the car running with the AC on.
Wow. And you do hear about that happen. It's not only an Arizona thing. This is something that happens across the country, and you have to be mindful of leaving your pets in the car and just not do it.
Totally. I'm very wary of that. My dog loves to ride in the car, so we're always driving around with the windows down. And during the summer, I'm always very wary of just like getting out to pump gas or anything like that because I'm so paranoid.
Yeah, really don't do it. It only takes a matter of minutes. It's remarkable how quickly a dog can succumb to heat.
So say someone does leave their dog in the car or they're exposed to some sort of heat-related injury, what are like the first signs?
So the first thing that you're going to see is a disoriented dog, maybe starting to stagger a little bit. So if you're on a walk and your dog's getting a little wobbly or maybe panting heavily or stops panting, that means you need to take action right away. And action means putting cold water on the paws, getting into a car, turn the air conditioner on, turn the vents on the dog, get them cooled down very quickly, and you can reverse that. If it moves on, they can actually pass out and literally faint on the trail, and that's life or death at that point. That can move on very quickly to an irreversible disaster.
Obviously, we need to watch for that year round. We have a beautiful preserve here and wonderful trails, and a lot of people like to take their dogs out. But sadly, we have had some deaths and some other emergency situations. And as you mentioned, dogs they heat up much more quickly than we do as humans, and temperature rises. So you've got to be watching for those things.
Yep. And always make sure you have some sort of a water bowl that you can take, maybe an expandable one. And I like to say take 2 or 3 times as much water as you think you might need, and stop several times and give your dog water. You want to make sure they get water before they're showing you any signs, before they're panting excessively or before they stop panting or before they get a little bit weak, because then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And in Scottsdale, as we know, it's not even legal to have a dog on a trail above 100 degrees.
It's not necessarily a personal question, but I've heard that if your dog is experiencing like some sort of heat crisis, you're not supposed to give them like a bunch of water at once because it can cause bloat or something to that extent. Is that true?
Well, you certainly don't want them to drink too much water. And what we mean by bloat is generally in a large dog. If their stomach fills up too quickly, it can actually twist.
Okay.
So not very common.
Okay.
But yes, you might want to give them some ice in the water bowl and meter it a little bit so they don't get too much too fast. But cool water from a hose on the paws is very, very useful. Or dousing the entire dog if you can. You don't want to throw them in a bathtub with ice water, but if it doesn't overly excite them and upset them, then a hose is good, and that might. So then just using a bucket with cool rags on the paws might be the best approach in the shade with a fan, hopefully moving inside very quickly.
Of course, we don't want people to be in that circumstance, but I do know Scottsdale Fire does have equipment and the ability to assist your dog if you're on the trail and you run into trouble. But again, better to be cautious and take heed to the advice that you're offering today and just not be in that situation in the first place.
Don't even take them on a trail this time of the year.
No, not at all.
So with your pets, if we're being cautious about the heat and we're not going outside with them during the day and taking them on those walks, my dog needs to get his energy out. So what do I do if he's in the house all day and he's not getting that 2-3 mile walk that he expects every day?
And that's where we can really plan for some extracurricular activities. So try and come up with some enrichment.
Okay.
For my dogs, they're fairly small, so I can throw a ball inside. I can bounce a tennis ball off the wall. I've got one dog that if she hears that anywhere in the house, she comes running. So those sorts of things inside. You can also give them puzzle toys. So you can take a Kong and fill it with peanut butter and dog food and freeze it. That'll occupy them at least. It doesn't give them a whole lot of exercise. You can train dogs to treadmills, but I'd be pretty careful about that. You want to introduce it cautiously and carefully, and probably generally not a good idea. The best thing is probably the 10 p.m. walk at night or a very early walk in the morning because it heats up pretty quickly. So you pretty much have to beat the sun in the morning and just make sure at this time of the year it's not going to be below 90 tomorrow morning.
No.
So staying inside is probably the best bet. Take them outside when they have to go to the bathroom and make sure they don't stay out too long. Lots of fresh water, a little ice in the bowl is always good.
You know, we're talking a lot about dogs, but are there any risks or tips people should consider when it comes to outdoor cats?
So outdoor cats are very resourceful. So if they're truly 100% outside, we just want to make sure they've got access to adequate shade and protection from the environment and access to plenty of water and food. Water shouldn't be in the sun, and it needs to be clean, as fresh as can be, but not filled with dirt. And they will actually do quite well. Ideally, I would prefer those cats are inside, but sometimes that's not an option. And as long as they're used to the environment, what you don't want to do is turn a cat out that's never been outside on a day like today and say, fend for yourself. That would be awful. But if it is an outdoor cat or a colony that somebody is managing, they're pretty used to the environment. And cats do remarkably well. They will stay away just like coyotes in the heat of the day. They'll find shade. They'll find cool spots. They'll find a dirt area underneath a bush. But make sure there's water and that the water's not in the sun because that water bowl will get very hot, especially if it's a stainless steel water bowl like I've got outside.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah. In cats specifically, are the signs of heat exhaustion similar to the signs that you would see in a dog?
They're going to be very similar. I'm not sure I've ever seen a cat that's experiencing heat exhaustion or heat stroke. I've definitely treated dogs, but it seems to be unusual because cats are resourceful and they're used to being outside, hopefully. But the signs would be the same. You'd have a cat that's open mouth breathing, which would be very unusual for a cat to actually see them literally panting like a dog with their mouth wide open. That's a bad sign. So we do want to get right inside and get cool. And we don't want to panic them. So trying to put anything, I would probably use ice cubes in a rag with water on their paws sort of thing. You certainly don't go after them with a hose. You're going to make matters worse. Yeah. But it should look the same. It'll progress from disorientation and weakness to full-blown heat stroke, and that's when the body's systems start to break down and it becomes irreversible pretty quickly. Blood starts clotting, and it's a really, really bad situation.
You mentioned outreach and providing those booties to people who are experiencing homelessness. Is there any other type of outreach you do in regards to heat safety for pets?
So we certainly, so we have field trucks that are out. Our ambulances are out in the valley all day, every day. And they will stop and help with an animal that's outside that looks like it needs care. They'll provide water. They carry buckets. A lot of what our team does when they're investigating a claim of an animal that's not getting proper care outside is education. So we'll show up. We've got big several gallon buckets, Lowe's and Home Depot type buckets, and we will fill those up with water and put them outside. We'll also talk about proper shade and proper shade structures. A bill was recently signed by Governor Hobbs, SB 1658, which we're very excited about. What it does is it defines outdoor shelter for dogs that predominantly live outside, and it will help enormously to make sure that dogs stay safe, and it will allow us to respond and police to respond. And what it does is it requires that the structure that a dog is being protected from the environment be sound and built appropriately, that protects the dog from the elements, from the sun, from the wind, from the monsoon rains. And that if it's a kennel, the dog's got to be able to stand up and move around and lie down in a natural position. And this is really important because the current law, this doesn't take effect now for another 3 months, a little bit short of 90 days from now. All the current law says is the dog must have shelter. And that means that a broken down car counts as shelter. So this allows us to put some guardrails around what that really means to make a dog protected outside. So we're very excited about that, and we're very grateful to Governor Hobbs and to Senator Bollock, who is the person that really was behind this bill. She's the brains behind it.
That's wonderful. It's hard for me to imagine that there are dogs who live outside here.
It really, it is hard to imagine. We have lots of outside dogs in Arizona. We really do have lots of outside dogs. Several of the jurisdictions in Maricopa County do have leash laws, do have tethering laws. We don't have a specific tethering law in Scottsdale. The general law that many jurisdictions have is that if it's over 100 degrees, a dog cannot be outside, or it can only be outside for a very short time. Some allow an hour. And it cannot be on a tether longer than 10 feet. And the tether cannot be a chain, cannot be a logging chain.
Okay.
Because remarkably, we find those all the time in the valley.
Wow. That's really sad.
So if I saw something like a dog in poor conditions, what should I do?
So what you can do for the city of Scottsdale is call the police department or call the Arizona Humane Society directly, and we will respond. And we appreciate those tips. They're very helpful. We'll do, this month alone, we'll do several thousand investigations in Maricopa County.
Wow.
But again, 90% of those are education.
Right.
Our objective is to keep pets in homes. So we will we'll provide materials. We even have a veterinarian that will go and visit homes. And we also have a telemedicine service that we can provide care. And we have 2 community hospitals. One of them is at the South Mountain campus, and one of them is at the Sunny Slope campus. And we will actually have an evening clinic that will open in the fall here very close to Scottsdale in Papago Park. So those all allow resources to help keep pets safe.
And some cities do have an animal control unit of some sort. I know we don't. So as you were saying, it's best to call the police department or to call you directly. How does the Arizona Humane Society work with the city of Scottsdale?
So we have a very good relationship with the city of Scottsdale. We actually have a written agreement, so we work closely with PD. What this means is if we get a call for a complaint and we make a visit, we show up and we believe we can handle it with education, we do. And then we come back and check on the place again and keep coming back until we're actually in compliance. If we come upon a situation where an animal is in egregious care, which the new legislation actually helps define, then what we will do is contact the police department, because we cannot remove an animal without either the owner's permission or somebody from Scottsdale Police Department there with a search warrant to remove an animal. But that relationship works very, very well. We will conduct the investigation. We will go to court and testify. So we work hand in glove with Scottsdale PD, and we really do appreciate that relationship. This is a very good community for pets, and we appreciate that. Lots of animals get adopted, and Scottsdale loves their animals.
You mentioned the Papago Park campus, which I know is fairly new. Can you tell us a little bit more about the new facility?
Yeah, the Papago Park campus is located just on the edge of Tempe, Phoenix, and Scottsdale. It opened a year ago. It's 72,000 square feet. The primary purpose of that location is the trauma hospital. And as I mentioned, there's not another trauma hospital like that in the country. It's a teaching hospital. So I was there this morning, and we have a group of U of A students there every day, 6 to 8 students. And it's a required teaching location for those students. And we also have veterinary technology students that are there as well. So the primary purpose is a trauma hospital. So the ambulances are deployed from the South Mountain campus every morning. It looks very much like how your dispatch looks in your police departments. And we track those trucks, and we track the people individually as well, and we coordinate where they're going. We try and get a full ambulance when possible. So those are animals that are not in dire need, but they do need to come to our hospital. And if it's an emergency, then they'll be directed immediately to the hospital. And that is the primary purpose of that location, is the trauma hospital. We also have a 24/7 ICU. We have a 24/7 nursery, mostly kittens, but also puppies. We'll have about 3,000 kittens that will come through that nursery. We'd love to have volunteers at that location. We've got lots of volunteers that help feed the kittens, and we adopt out a lot of kittens. The majority of the cats that come from a shelter come from the Arizona Humane Society.
Wow.
We also have kids camp. So this morning it's filled with kids. So we got 3 classrooms of kids camps. We love having the kids. They get to come and experience pets and really have a great time and give their parents a little downtime. And of course, we do adoptions at that location. Last weekend on Saturday, we did about 260 adoptions in one day.
Wow.
And they were fee-waived adoptions. There were no fees because we are so very full right now. And we've been running about 1,000 animals under roof and about 1,000 animals in foster, which is a lot.
That is a lot.
2 Saturdays ago, we set a record at a 380 adoption day on one day at 3 locations. So all 3 locations. Yep.
Congratulations.
So that was
awesome.
fabulous. Yeah, we're really excited about that. So send them home.
Yeah.
And where can listeners go to learn more about the Arizona Humane Society or follow along with your work?
Yeah, so they can visit our website, azhumane.org. We've got a robust website with a lot of resources. And again, our primary purpose is to keep pets in home. So resources include our call center. We call it our PRC, our Pet Resource Center. We'll take about 10,000 calls a month. And a lot of those calls are people that are in trouble either because they don't have adequate medical care, or not in trouble, but in need of medical care, or it's a housing issue. So they either have to move to a new location and they're not able to have the pet, or something else has happened in the household and they must give up a pet. So we try and help them if we can to keep their pet. And if they must, then we will schedule an appointment for those animals to come in. But our appointments are primarily for sick and injured. That is what we focus on. So healthy animals we'll try and schedule out and work them in because the sick and injured are what we're all about. So visit azhumane.org. Lots of resources. All the animals that are available for adoption are on the website, and it will tell you which location. So be careful to notice because there are 3 adoption locations. So we've got lots of beautiful pets at each location, but if there's somebody you're looking for, check and see which location it is. And we'd be thrilled to send a pet home.
Wonderful. Good tip. And it sounds like there are a lot of volunteer opportunities as well.
We have lots of volunteers. Yeah, we've got volunteers that work in the hospital. Most of them are doing things like surgical equipment, keeping all the surgical suites clean and ready. They do help a lot in the nursery. So bottle feeding kittens is not easy. It takes a special touch. Mom is always better, so we always try and tell the community to, if you come across kittens, don't sweep them up and bring them to us. Wait and make sure that mom isn't going to come back, because most likely she will. And then just keep an eye on her as she's taking care of the kittens, because she's much better than we are. We're good, but nobody's better than mom. So we like to call that don't kidnap kittens, don't kidnap kittens.
Yeah.
Leave them in the environment if at all possible, and then bring them to us.
I will say my roommate and I have fostered a few times through the Humane Society. We did a bottle baby kitten case at one point, and it was a lot of work. You're like up every 4 hours. You have to weigh them, make sure that they're getting enough food. It was a very cool experience, but you're right. It does take the right kind of person, because it's like raising a baby almost. Like you have to be up. It was very cool.
Thank you for doing that. And it is a lot of work, but volunteers do that all the time. And they work in other areas as well. They walk dogs. So we've got a lot of volunteers that come and walk dogs. We like to get them out of the kennel a couple of times a day. They do that at all locations. And they'll help with kids camps. They help greeting people that come in. We've got volunteers doing just about everything.
And you can also foster, correct?
Fostering is enormous. We have almost 1,000 animals in foster today. So it's enormous. What that does is it frees up kennel space so that we can take more dogs, cats, and critters in. So we're very grateful to fosters. Our objective is not for you to keep the pet. It's not for you to be a foster failure. It happens. We've got 2 that are foster failures in our home. But fostering is enormous. And we're really flexible with fostering. What we try and do is match what somebody wants. So with you and your roommate, it worked out particularly well. Sometimes we've got people that are traveling, so they want just a very narrow window. Maybe it's a dog that's got sutures that need to come out in a week. Oftentimes, it's a dog that needs to gain weight. A lot of our cruelty investigations involve severely underweight dogs and cats. So they'll go out to foster sometimes for several weeks, and they'll go out looking pretty rough. Some of them will have been matted to the skin, and we have to shave them. And they'll come back after a couple of months of getting plenty of groceries and living in a nice, loving home, and they'll be a different dog. And they'll be all bright-eyed, and the before and afters are dramatic. So fosters are huge. We absolutely love our fosters.
And any other closing thoughts as we wrap up the episode, or anything else you'd like to share with our audience today?
Nope, just to remind people to be cautious in the summer heat. Make sure the pavement is not hot. Don't even go out in the middle of the day. Don't even think about going on a trail this time of the year. It's just not a good idea. Stay away from hot cars. Don't ever leave a dog or a child in a hot car. Those are just critical ideas. If you must be on the pavement, booties work well.
And what is the Humane Society's web address?
It's azhumane.org.
azhumane.org.
Dr. Hansen, thank you so much for coming on today. I learned a lot, and I love everything that the Humane Society does, so it was really cool to get to sit down and talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's all for this episode of Podsdale. If you enjoyed listening, be sure to subscribe. You can find us on YouTube or in your favorite podcast app. Share episode ideas and provide your feedback by emailing communications@scottsdaleaz.gov. Thanks for listening.